Welcome to the show, guys. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor. I'm excited to dive into the first three rounds, laying out how to draft the optimal players in those first three rounds, because there's a lot of lies out there. There's a lot of deception. Everyone's drafting on ADP. We're going to do a deep dive here in the first three rounds, laying it out for you guys so you understand everything. So you guys are solid in the first rounds and you have a good foundation. So I'm going to pull up a screen here and go through it with you, drafting from the 6th position and walking you through this, guys. And I just released 16 rounds, guys. If you haven't gotten 16 rounds, you'll be light years ahead of the sheep. And I just did it, so I've hacked it. I've got the formula on how to dominate your leagues, guys. I've got it laid out, so you're gonna have a backup plan for a backup plan for a backup plan. Guys, I'm super excited. Everyone's drafting on ADP, and you're going to be like, oh, I'm aiming high on the depth chart. I got a backup plan for a backup plan. I've got all the optimal players. So if you haven't gotten 16 rounds, grab it below and make sure you grab a ticket to the Sports Summit. We're going to have Kyron Williams, Trey Benson there, Pat Fryermuth, and more. And you're entered for a PS5 giveaway. So grab 60 rounds, grab the summit. It's the ultimate fantasy experience. All right, let's dive into this. Oh, also smash it, tap it, slap it, hit the thumbs up, and drop a comment below, all right? Let's talk about this. Let's go through the first three rounds here in a little more detail. Let's dive in through it, rip through it. Happy Wednesday. If you're in the car, I'm gonna walk you through these first three rounds. Short video, but to the point, concise, detailed. I've done the homework. I know who to draft. I know what to look for. I know what's up, okay? Now, typically, everybody's got question marks, but you want to mitigate the risk. You want to, if there's red flags, I tend to stay away from red flags round one, okay? You want to mitigate as much risk as possible. We're going to do that right here in the first three rounds. Now, Christian McCaffrey, I've explained why I'm not drafting him. If you feel like you want to draft him, I tell people in 60 rounds, go with your gut. I'm gonna give you guys my recommendations. Now, again, I give this analogy with Christian McCaffrey. I was talking to Tim about this. Now, don't do this, right? But I give the analogy, like if I were to run across the highway back and forth all day, eventually I'm going to get hit, God forbid, right? So Christian McCaffrey, if you want to use that analogy, has been running. He's eventually going to get hurt. So that's kind of the analogy I use. So that's kind of my thought process when I am looking at a guy like Christian McCaffrey, is that, you know, is he due? And he's older and all that, and Super Bowl hangover. So I'm personally avoiding him. That's me. Okay, you guys can go ahead and draft them. And the biggest problem is when I'm looking at these mock drafts with everybody that's doing them is that they're just drafting on ADP. They're not looking at all the variables. CeeDee Lamb coming off this astronomical pinnacle year. Mind you, he's still in a great position. They didn't acquire another wide receiver that's going to take that volume away. So he's still good. I just don't want to pay the price for him. Tyreek Hill getting older. You know, is he due? Kind of similar with the car analogy. Jamar Chase, he's kind of trending upwards, but again, Burrow's going to be the issue. And then Justin Jefferson, do we trust him? That's a big question mark with Justin Jefferson because, again, you got the rookie quarterback and he's coming off injury. So with me for round one, and I explained this thing 16 rounds, again, grab it, guys. You're going to be light years ahead of the competition. I like getting the most scarce position, which is, you know, almost like a dinosaur now, literally is the workhorse running back. So either Bijan Robinson or Breece Hall here at number 6. Love him. I'm going to go here with Bijan. I'm going to draft him because, I just heard that he's got an ankle thing going here. He should be fine, though. That a little bit of a scare, but he should be good. He's the workhorse. He's the alpha. He's the guy. He looked great on all the runs. He's got youth. He's got upside. And he's got minimal committee, okay? Breece Hall, also a great option. Other guys at the end of round one here, Amon-Ra, I like. A.J. Brown, again, Jalen Hurts, he loves them. He's going to get the volume. Hurts had a bit of a down year last year. Is that going to continue this year? I don't really know, but A.J. Brown is a safe bet here, not my first choice. Puka, and that's what I want to talk about here, rounds 2 to 3. There's a lot of messed up situations here at wide receiver when you look at him. There's a lot of like wide receiver by committee because Cooper Kupp is coming off not too far behind. So again, this is very reminiscent of last year when I told you to avoid T. Higgins because everyone's like, T. Higgins round 2, Jalen Waddle round 2. I'm like, no. Don't settle, guys. Listen, I want to emphasize this point here. When you are drafting, especially in the early rounds, don't settle for someone who's going to be a wide receiver 2. You want to get a wide receiver 1. Do you understand what I'm saying? You always want to aim high on that depth chart. You don't want to settle. And I believe there's going to be a lot of settling going on in these first 2 rounds because there's a lot of competition. We got Debo and AU. Nobody knows who the wide receiver 1 is. If you're going to gamble on who the wide receiver 1 is, do it in later rounds with Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed. Don't do it with guys that are coming off in round 2 and gamble those questionable suspect, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, who's the 2 situations in the early rounds. Okay, guys, that's what I do. I talk common sense. I talk practicality. I don't draft on ADP. I just don't do it, guys. I don't. And I'm okay with reaching on certain guys if I feel they're better, okay, for me. So end of round 1 here, Amon-Ra, A.J. Brown, Puka, Garrett Wilson, Saquon. And I do want to make a point. I'm okay with stacking 2 wide receivers at the end of round 1 if you're drafting from 12th, because there's a ton of running backs I do like as sleepers that could really go off. Guys like Jonathan Brooks and other guys. I won't reveal all of them here. That's why you guys to subscribe, smash it, tap it, slap it, hit the thumbs up, and grab 16 rounds, where I share all my secrets at 16 rounds, okay? So let's keep going here with this mock draft. Who do I like at the 2.7? We see Chris Olave, Jahmyr Gibbs, Marvin Harrison, Jonathan Taylor, Drake London, Kyren Williams. Who's coming off at the 207? By the way, I love Harrison here. Jahmyr Gibbs, I just heard the GM says he's going to get more work, but I still think Montgomery's going to be a thorn. That's a problem for me. That's something that I'm really trying to contend with and I don't want to deal with, okay? So I look at this and I look at who's available at wide receiver here, and I don't like these options. Adams has a suspect quarterback. Michael Pittman's been meh his entire career. Brandon Ayuk, I don't trust him. I don't know who it's going to be, him or Debo or what's going on. They drafted a rookie, Purcell. Tons of question marks. They got George Kittle. They got so many options there. It's like, no, not with my second round pick. Mike Evans could be safe here, but he's kind of boring, but he's safe. DJ Moore, another wide receiver by committee. So I don't like these options. This is where I'm actually really, and then the running backs here, I'll tell you in a sec, I'm not really crazy on, but they're safe. But this is why I'm liking Sam Laporta here. This is a guy that I was the only one to tell you guys, if you got 60 rounds last year, you're the only ones that got Laporta. I said, get Laporta around 10 or whatever he was coming off of. Get him around earlier, and you're good at tight end. And people are like, you're crazy, Joe. Are you sure? I'm like, absolutely. He was in a great position. And this year, he's more expensive. The sheep are on him. But here's the thing. Let the sheep now draft some of these suspect wide receivers in committees like a DJ Moore. I mean, they got Rome Odunze there. They got Keenan Allen. They got a rookie quarterback. Like, really? I'm going to spend a second to third round pick on DJ Moore? No, thank you. I'm going to get the guaranteed numbers here in Sam Laporta, and I'm good. I'm good at Sam Laporta here, man. I mean, compared in contrast to the other options available, I'm good. And I could have looked at some running backs, but I already secured a running back round 1, so I'm good. Listen, this is what I do in 60 rounds. I give you a backup plan for a backup plan. Make sure you're optimized so you're not just drafting players based on ADP, you're not going to win your leagues. And that's what everyone else is doing. That's why you guys got to subscribe. You got to turn on the bell. We got to get the message out because this is the only channel giving you the truth on fantasy advice. And I don't mean that in an arrogant, I'm better than you way, than you guys. I'm not you guys, but better than the competition. I just give truth, right? That's the difference between me and the competition. I'm very passionate. I actually want you to win. Other people, they don't. They're just like, hey, let's just play it safe. Let's just tell you to draft based on last year. Let's tell you to draft Eckler second overall last year. Let's tell you Pollard is a stud running back in round 1. I told you to avoid those guys. I told you to avoid T. Higgins round 2. I told you to avoid Dalvin Cook round 5. I told you to avoid J.K. Dobbins round 4. I told you to avoid all these guys. Mike Williams round 5, because I saw it and I see everything light years before everyone else does. Okay, that's just one of my skills. I'm not very skilled at a lot of things, but one thing I am skilled at is fantasy football. I'm telling you the truth, okay, with this fantasy. All right, so round 2, let's go over it if you're in the car. Chris Olave, I think he's safe. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to get an uptick this year. I still love him. I love him. I just don't like Montgomery. So I'm likely passing on him, but it could be a mistake. But coming out on the first drive, if I see Montgomery, I'm going to lose it. I'm drafting this Jahmyr in round 1, 2. I see Montgomery, I'm going to lose it. It's going to give me anxiety. It's going to bother me. And you're going to see Montgomery until he gets hurt. Taylor's going to be safe, but again, he's been paid incentivized. Is he going to crush it this year? Is he going to do well? The opportunity's there, but he's got a really high-end rushing quarterback. I looked at the stats. I think, what was it? Anthony Richardson played like 3 or 4 games, and he had like 4 rushing touchdowns, like 2 or 3 games. It was insane. Like, it's going to be crazy. Anthony Richardson is going to get a lot of rushing work, touchdowns, that is. So be cautious if you're drafting Taylor with that. Drake London, like him, he's going to crush it this year. I absolutely feel that. He's got Kirk Cousins. Volume's going to go his way. He's finally primed. It's a do or die year, make or break year for him, okay? Sam Laporta, I got him. Devontae Adams, suspect quarterback. Ayuk, I talked about, not really crazy about him. Jacobs could be safe. Devin Achane, don't trust that committee there. Cooper Kupp, again, very early for Puka's right there. Like, who is it, right? And aging Stafford. And then to start round 3, Travis Etienne, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurts, Derrick Henry, which I think is a safe pick in round 3. Isaiah Pacheco is also safe, but I'm not crazy on Chiefs players. So who do we pick? I take a look here. I take a look at quarterback, and I want to anchor my team with an ace quarterback this year, but I think that some of these guys can fall to round 4. I'll tell you which quarterbacks I like exactly in the 16-round draft solution. But when I look at wide receiver here, I don't like these options. I don't like DJ Moore. I don't like Nico Collins. If I'm going wide receiver out of the trio there in Houston, I'm going with Tank Dell later. Way better value, right? Like, they don't know who the wide receiver one is. Nico was the wide receiver one last year by default because there was no one else there. Dell was hurt, and there was no Stephon Diggs. It was a disaster. So Nico, by default, benefited because quarterbacks make wide receivers. We got a good quarterback. He fed Nico. Nico did well. And here he is, copied and pasted over, even though with the acquisition of Stephon Diggs. So this is a deterrent. DJ Moore, Romo Tuesday, like Keenan Allen. Are you kidding me? Second, third round pick with a guy who's suspect. No, thank you. Evans is safe here. Pittman could be safe as well. So I look again at contrast, right? So if and again, I'm comfortable with reaching. I'm a risk taker. If you're risk adverse, don't do this. But I recommend it. I actually think Malik Nabers is safer than all these guys above him, minus maybe like Mike Evans or something like that. But Malik Nabers is one of the top wide receiver prospects out of this draft. And he's got Daniel Jones, who's desperate, who's hungry, who's got to succeed. To me, I'm risk averse. I'm going to go here, Malik Nabers, and I got my wide receiver one. Obviously, the only question mark with him is the Giants have sucked, and can Daniel Jones do it? And don't worry, I've got you covered, because if you go Malik Nabers round 3, there's a ton of other wide receiver ones. Yes, wide receiver ones you can get later, have a backup plan for a backup plan for a backup plan. You're going to be good. You're going to have a backup plan for running backs. You're going to have depth there. You're going to have, you're going to have your ace quarterback, and you're going to have him backed up. You're going to have your tight ends. Everything's going to be covered for you. So if you guys want to dive in right now, grab the 16-round draft solution. I lay out all this on a silver platter for you, giving you all the sleepers, all the breakouts, giving you a mock draft from mock drafts every month in video form, and I'm going to give you guys actual builds from first overall, 6th overall, and 12th. So you have a vision of how it all lays out, everything laid out for you guys in 16 rounds. But again, right now I feel comfortable. By Jan, Sam Laporta, Malik Nabers, all top of the depth chart, all prime for volume. And again, Malik Nabers or Nico, I'm all over Malik. I could be wrong, but you got to take a look at raw probability, the ball spread around, volume, talent, and Malik Nabers on paper is more talented than Nico Collins. Higher draft capital in him coming out of, scouting reports, high draft capital, and he's going to be the wide receiver. And he's got no competition. Nico's going to, yes, better quarterback. Yes, rapport with quarterbacks. You got to take a look at that. But he's got Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell. It's going to be a problem. Okay, so those are my first 3. And again, I can mix and match. You can go Brees here. You can go wide receiver Amon-Ra, come back, get Drake London here mid 2 if he falls, right? Or maybe get a Josh Jacobs. You can mix and match, but it's up to you guys to do some of your own research. I'm giving you some of the guys that I like in the first 3 rounds. It's up to you. Now, this would look completely different if I drafted from here or drafted from here. Mind you, I still probably go by Jalen and Brees because I don't like Christian McCaffrey, but it's going to look different because the players that, Sam Laporta might not fall here, that I'm looking at other options. So it kind of varies based on your draft position, if it's a 2-quarterback league, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I also offer direct coaching. You guys can book below. If you guys have a specific need or high stakes league or whatever it is, I got you covered. So grab the 16-round draft solution, also direct coaching. I've linked it below as well. So guys, there it is. The first 3 rounds here for you. And again, that's just the first rounds. The first 3 rounds don't win your leagues. This year is going to be won in the mid to later rounds. There's so much depth. There's Trey Bensons that are going to break out. Jonathan Brooks out there. There's so many guys out there. George Pickens is a value wide receiver. There's so many good players out there that the later rounds are going to win your leagues this year. Okay, guys? So subscribe, thumbs up, smash it, tap it, grab 16 rounds. Content coming to you daily. I appreciate you guys being here. Awesome line mentality. Let's get it. Fantasy's back. I'll keep the content coming for you guys. Talk soon, guys. Have yourself an outstanding day, and make sure don't follow the sheep and the ADP consensus. They'll lead you astray. We'll talk soon, guys. I'm out.